The Ministry of National Development Planning (Bappenas), together with Waste for Change and supported by the World Resources Institute (WRI), Indonesia and the United Kingdom Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office (UKFCDO), launched the results of the Study of Food Loss and Waste (FLW) study in Indonesia at the FLW Management Strategy webinar to support the circular economy and low-carbon development, on June 9, 2021. Moderated by the Global Green Growth Institute (GGGI). The Minister of National Development Planning, head of Bappenas, Suharso Monorfa, said that the demand for foods in Indonesia is high, but the availability is limited due to mobility restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. This means the identification of FLW in Indonesia is important so that we can plan and develop efforts to narrow the existing gaps. According to the results of a study by Bappenas together with several other institutions, Indonesia disposes 23 to 48 million tons of food waste per year in the period of 2020-19, or equivalent to 115 to 184 kilograms per capita per year. The resulting economic loss is Rp 213 to 551 trillion per year, or about 4 to 5% of Indonesia's GDP per year. Socially, it causes a loss of energy which is the same as a portion of food for 61 to 125 million people per year. FLW is dominated by grains, namely rice, corn, wheat and related products, while the most inefficiently processed food types are vegetables, where its loss is 62.8% of the total domestic supply of vegetables in Indonesia. Emissions from FLW are equivalent to 7.29% of the average Indonesian greenhouse gases. The results of this study will be used as the basis for policy makers to implement the low-carbon development in Indonesia, which has become a priority program in the 2020-2024 RPJMN, while realizing Indonesia's commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). The post-COVID-19 national recovery momentum is being used to rebuild Indonesia in a better and sustainable manner through the active collaboration of all stakeholders, one of which begins with a gradual transition from conventional economy to circular economy, including the FLW issue. Indonesians lost or wasted around 115 to 184 kg of food per capita per year on average, according to the study, which conducted by the National Development Planning Agency (Bappenas) in collaboration with think tank World Resources Institute and a management consulting firm Waste for Change. Most of the food loss occurred in the processing, storing, transporting, and selling of food crops, particularly grains. In contrast, most of the food waste occurred in the consumption stage, when leftover food on the dining table is thrown away. All those foods lost or wasted contain key nutrients, including energy, protein, vitamin A, and iron, which, in aggregate, could meet the nutrient requirements of 61 to 125 million people per year. Loss of nutritional content from food loss and waste, if utilized, can meet almost 100% of the nutritional needs of people who are malnourished in Indonesia. Arifin Rudianto, the Deputy for Maritime Affairs and Natural Resources at the National Development Planning Ministry Agency (Bappenas), on Wednesday, as quoted by the Globe's sister publication Beritasatu.com. He said, for example, food loss and waste caused a loss of energy of 618-989 kilocalories (kcal) per person per day. That is 29 to 47% of the recommended calorie intake of 2,100 kilocalories suggested by the Health Ministry. According to data from the Central Statistics Agency (BPS) from 2019, 24 million Indonesian were unable to meet the minimum requirement of daily calorie intake, defined as 1,400 kilocalories per day, or 70% of the recommended level. Apart from the nutritional losses, food loss and waste also put a dent in Indonesia's economy. The study estimated 4 to 5% of the country's gross domestic product (GDP), or Rp 213 to 551 trillion ($15-39 billion) per year, lost due to the inefficient food supply chain and wastage and food consumption. In addition, the food waste often ended in landfills, creating greenhouse gases like methane that undermine Indonesia's commitment to reduce its greenhouse emission by 29% from business as usual scenario by 2030. For 20 years, the total greenhouse gas emissions from food loss and waste were 1,703 megatons of carbon dioxide equivalent. The biggest contributor is the consumption stage at 58%, Arifin said. Arifin said there were many opportunities for both public and private enterprises to address the food waste problem. These include implementing good handling practices, optimal storage space, and quality standards on food items. There were also opportunities to recognize consumer preferences regarding their food choices to minimize wastage. Education about food wastage aimed at workers and consumers could also address the problem. Arifin, why do we waste so much food? Some food waste comes as a natural part of producing and transporting food from the farm to the table. Severe weather can cause crops to fail and thereby contribute to food waste. Transportation and storage facilities can break down and result in food waste. Supermarkets and grocery outlets waste food if they have an overabundance and it goes bad before being sold or if their storage facilities fail. Restaurants and institutions, like schools and hospitals, battle providing the right amount of food for their employees or patients and often inadvertently waste food that consumers do not eat. The most common reasons for food waste at home are buying too much, improper storage, forgetting about food in the fridge, or simply cooking so much food it is not consumed. Another common reason for food waste at home is tossing food due to a misunderstanding about labeling concerning the best date to use the food. The terms, best by date, use by date, and sell by date, can be confusing. With the exception of infant formula, these dates can be arbitrary and are voluntary labels. They do not refer to the safety of the food. Instead, the dates refer to the date the food is still at its freshest and the taste is the best. The best by date means the food is its freshest if consumed by that date. The sell by date means the food is still fresh for anyone who buys it by that date, and the use by date is the company's guarantee of freshness, such as soft bread by that date. According to Foodprint, most foods are still perfectly good food for up to weeks past the sell by date. Even milk and dairy are good for 5 to 7 days past the sell by date if it has been refrigerated properly. That means millions of Americans are likely throwing away perfectly good food due to a misunderstanding of what the labels really mean. What are the environmental impacts of food waste? Food waste costs money. While tossing uneaten food in your home in the trash may not seem like a big deal, you may be surprised to learn that just how much money you are throwing away. It is estimated that Americans throw away more than a pound of food per person every day. But your grocery bill isn't the only concern. Food waste that ends up in the landfill causes a big problem. Ways to reduce your food waste as it increases greenhouse gas emissions and contributes to global warming. You can control the amount of food loss stress on the environment because it uses valuable resources like you are in the habit of running out to the store to pick up what you need for a meal. You likely end up with unused ingredients and food scraps at the end of the meal. By planning ahead you can combine menu items that use some of the same ingredients and save wasting food. 2. Make a list. Making a list of the things you need before you go shopping is a great way to reduce food waste as it prevents overbuying. Make sure to check the fridge and pantry to find out what you really need before adding anything to your list. 3. Be realistic. Many fall to the temptation to buy lots of fresh fruits and veggies with the intention of suddenly eating healthy. Unfortunately, many also fail and let the fresh produce go bad in the fridge. Get in the habit of shopping realistically and buying only as many fresh fruits and vegetables as your family will eat in the next few days to avoid food being wasted. 4. Shop small. Just because your grocery store sells items in giant containers doesn't mean you need to buy them. Stop and consider how much of the product your family will realistically use before it goes bad. Buying too much food is sure to lead to more food waste. 5. Prioritize. Keep your pantry and freezer stocked with foods your family uses and loves. This includes spices, seasonings, rice, and grains. When the pantry is well stocked, you are more likely to use up leftovers in a new dish and your family is more likely to eat it too. 6. Stock the essentials. Keep your pantry and freezer stocked with foods your family uses and loves. This includes spices, seasonings, rice, and grains. When the pantry is well stocked, you are more likely to use up leftovers in a new dish and your family is more likely to eat it too. 7. Don't over-prepare. No one likes to throw away perfectly good leftovers, but the truth is sometimes the leftovers sit in the fridge and go bad. One way to solve this dilemma is to use care not to cook more than your family will eat at one meal. 8. Take leftovers home. Food waste is common at restaurants because they often serve larger portions than you can reasonably eat. But don't let that food go to waste. Bring home your leftovers for another meal or to share with other family members. 9. Use up leftovers. Plan the use of your leftovers. Soups, stews, and casseroles are a great way to use leftover meats and veggies. 10. Keep food fresh. Take the time to repackage foods when you get home from shopping to keep them fresh. Use the veggie crisper and keep fresh foods visible so you are more likely to eat them before they get stale. 11. Don't toss food before it spoils.